In the heart of the lush forest of West Africa, where the trees whispered secrets to the winds and the rivers hummed songs of old, there was a village known for its stories, stories passed down from generation to generation by the elders. These stories were the very lifeblood of the village. They explained the origins of things, the reasons for the stars in the sky, and the mysteries of the earth. Every evening, as the sun sank into the horizon, the village would gather around the fire, and the elders would tell their tales. But there was one story that no elder would ever speak of, the story of the Whispering Calabash. It was said that the calabash, carved from the sacred trees of the forest, held the greatest secret in the land, a secret so powerful that it had been hidden for centuries. And those who sought to uncover it were said to be doomed, for the calabash had a voice of its own, a whisper that no one could ignore, yet no one could fully understand. Its secrets were locked in a language older than time itself, and many believed it could drive a man mad. But one among them did not fear the calabash. Anansi, the cunning spider, the trickster known throughout the lands for his cleverness and deceit, had long heard rumors of the Whispering Calabash. He had heard that the stories hidden within it could bring unimaginable power to the one who deciphered them. And Anansi, always seeking more knowledge, more power, had decided that it would be him who would unlock the secrets of the calabash. One day, when the moon hung low in the sky, Anansi visited the village elder, a wise woman known only as Nanaya. She had lived through the ages and carried the weight of countless tales on her shoulders. Her eyes, though old and clouded, gleamed with the knowledge of generations. As Anansi approached her hut, he knew this would be the moment that would change everything. "Oh, Anansi," Nanaya said without turning. "I know why you've come. You seek the Whispering Calabash, do you not?" Anansi's eyes widened. "How did you know?" Nanaya chuckled softly. "The calabash is not just an object, Anansi. It is a doorway to a world beyond this one, and only those who are worthy can hear its whispers. But beware, for the stories it holds are not easily understood, and they will change you." Anansi's heart raced with excitement. "I am not afraid of change, Nanaya. I seek knowledge, and if the calabash holds such power, then I will be the one to claim it." Nanaya's expression grew grave. "You think yourself clever, Anansi, but there are forces in this world that even you cannot outwit. The calabash will reveal its stories only to those who are pure of heart. If your heart is not ready, the calabash will consume you." But Anansi was undeterred. He had faced many challenges in his time, outwitted gods and men alike, and he believed no story or secret could elude him. He smiled slyly and said, "I am ready. Tell me where I can find it." Nanaya paused for a moment, then reached beneath her mat and pulled out a small, ornate key. "This will unlock the path to the calabash. But remember, the journey will test you in ways you cannot imagine." Anansi took the key, and without another word, he set off into the forest, his mind already racing with the possibilities. The Whispering Calabash was not just a myth, it was real, and he was about to claim its power for. The moonlight filtered through the dense canopy as Anansi ventured deeper into the heart of the forest. The sounds of the jungle, chirping insects, rustling leaves, distant howls, seemed to grow quieter as he approached his destination. The key in his hand pulsed with a strange energy, guiding him towards the calabash, though he knew not where it lay. Hours passed, and the forest seemed to close in on him. The air grew thick, heavy with the scent of earth and magic. It was as if the forest itself were alive, watching him. Anansi's every step felt more uncertain, yet the key burned in his palm, urging him onward. Finally, after what seemed like an eternity, Anansi arrived at a clearing. At the center stood a massive, ancient tree, its trunk twisted and gnarled, its roots burrowing deep into the earth like veins of the forest itself. Beneath the tree, half buried in the soil, was the calabash. It shimmered faintly in the moonlight, its surface etched with intricate patterns that seemed to shift and change as he approached. With a mixture of awe and trepidation, Anansi knelt before the calabash. He inserted the key into a small hidden lock at its base. The calabash shuddered, and a soft whisper escaped from its depths. It was a sound unlike anything Anansi had ever heard, like the wind rustling through ancient leaves, like the murmur of forgotten gods. The calabash slowly opened, revealing a swirling mist within. And as Anansi gazed into it, the whispers grew louder, more urgent. He could feel the stories pressing against his mind, begging to be heard. But as he reached out to touch the mist, a sharp voice pierced the air. "Do not be so hasty, Anansi." Anansi froze. He turned, his eyes scanning the clearing, but saw no one. "Who speaks?" he demanded. The voice came again, this time clearer. "I am the spirit of the calabash, keeper of the stories. Only those who prove their worth may hear the tales within. Are you truly ready, Anansi?" Anansi's heart pounded in his chest. He had faced many trials, but this was different. The calabash was no mere object, it was alive, a sentient being holding the collective knowledge of generations. It was not a prize to be claimed, it was a force to be reckoned with. "Tell me what I must do," Anansi said, his voice steady despite the unease creeping over him. The calabash responded, its voice now a whisper in the wind. "You must first prove your heart, Anansi. Your cunning will not save you here. You must face the trials of the past, the present, and the future. Only then will the stories reveal themselves." The journey was only just beginning, and Anansi knew that he would have to navigate challenges beyond anything he had ever faced before. As the spirit of the calabash spoke, Anansi could feel the weight of the stories pushing against his consciousness, urging him forward. Yet, something in the back of his mind told him that he was not prepared for what lay ahead. The trials were not just of the body, but of the spirit, and Anansi would have to confront his deepest fears and desires. The secrets of the calabash were not easily unlocked, and the stories within it were far more than simple tales, they were the very essence of existence. This is just the beginning. The full tale would delve into Anansi's trials, his encounters with both mystical and human challenges, and the ultimate revelation of the Whispering Calabash's hidden stories. Anansi stood still, his hand hovering over the swirling mist within the calabash. The whispers grew louder, now almost deafening. His heart raced in his chest as the voice of the calabash spirit resonated through the air. "You wish to hear the stories, Anansi," the spirit's voice asked, now clear and commanding. "Then prove your heart." Without warning, the air around him thickened, and the clearing began to dissolve. The trees faded into a haze, and the ground beneath him seemed to crumble away. Anansi tried to steady himself, but the sensation of falling overtook him. In a split second, he found himself standing in a completely different place. He was no longer in the forest, but in a vivid, ancient village, a village from his past, one he had long since forgotten. It was a time before he had become the trickster, before he had outwitted gods and kings. Anansi stood on the edge of the village, hidden from the villagers, watching his younger self in the distance. The young Anansi was in the midst of a celebration. His family, the villagers, and even the spirits of the land gathered around, rejoicing. But there was a heavy sadness in his heart. The young Anansi had yet to understand the power of the stories that bound his people together. He had not yet discovered the true essence of his power. As he watched, the vision began to shift. A heavy rainstorm appeared out of nowhere, drowning the celebration. The villagers scattered for shelter, but in the chaos, a child was left behind. Anansi's younger self stood frozen in place, watching as the child was swept away by the torrent of rain. The older Anansi watched with a growing sense of dread. The child's face was eerily familiar, it was the face of his own child, the one he had lost years ago. He had never allowed himself to remember the pain, but now, as the vision unfolded, he understood that his failure to act in that moment had haunted him. The spirit's voice echoed again. "Anansi, you are a master of cunning, but when it came to those you loved, your heart faltered. Can you face the mistakes of your past?" Anansi's mind whirled. He had spent years weaving lies and outwitting others, but had he been truly honest with himself? Was he ready to confront the guilt that had shaped his existence? His chest tightened with the weight of regret. Without thinking, he stepped forward, into the vision. He reached out his hand to the child, but the vision shifted once again, pulling him back. "You are not yet ready, Anansi," the spirit whispered. "The past will always haunt you until you truly understand it. You must learn to forgive yourself." Anansi gasped, his chest heaving as he struggled to breathe. The vision shattered, and he found himself back in the clearing, gasping for air. The calabash, now glowing more brightly than ever, seemed to pulse with energy, waiting for him to make the next move. The air was thick with anticipation as Anansi steadied himself. He had faced the past, but the spirit of the calabash was not done with him yet. "Now, you must face the present, Anansi," the spirit intoned. Before Anansi could react, the ground beneath his feet trembled. The clearing dissolved once again, and this time, Anansi found himself standing in the middle of the village he had just left. But something was different. The village was darkened, silent. The people had vanished, and the trees around him were twisted, their branches heavy with dark, foreboding clouds. Anansi felt a chill run through him. This was no longer a place of celebration and light, it had become a reflection of his own mind, filled with uncertainty and shadow. As he stepped forward, he heard voices whispering, taunting him. "You have come to claim the power of the calabash," the voices said in unison. "But what will you give in return?" Anansi spun around, searching for the source of the voices, but there was no one there. The whispers grew louder, more urgent. "Will you sacrifice your cleverness? Will you forsake your schemes and lies in the name of truth? Will you give up your tricks for something real?" Anansi's heart pounded in his chest as he tried to shake off the haunting voices. But no matter how far he walked, the whispers followed, growing more intense. He reached out to the calabash, but instead of unlocking its secrets, he found his hand trembling. He knew the answer now. The present was not about deceit or trickery, it was about truth and transparency, the very things he had avoided for so long. "Tell me what to do," Anansi whispered, his voice shaky. The spirit's voice emerged from the mist again. "The path to true power is not through deception, Anansi. You must understand the weight of your actions. Will you choose to face the truth, even if it means shedding your old ways?" Anansi stood still, the gravity of the words settling on his shoulders. He had always relied on his wits, his trickery to navigate the world. But now, he had to decide, would he continue to deceive and manipulate, or would he choose honesty and face the consequences of his past choices? The vision shifted once again. The clearing was no longer dark and twisted but filled with light. The village was restored, but Anansi knew this time, he had to walk a new path. His future would be different, and the stories of the calabash would be rewritten. The last trial awaited him. The clearing before him glowed with an eerie light, and the air felt thick with magic. Anansi could feel the power of the calabash radiating around him, but he knew that the final trial would be the most challenging of all. "Now, face the future, Anansi," the spirit called, its voice echoing through the mist. Anansi took a deep breath, feeling the weight of all his past decisions bearing down on him. He stepped forward, the forest around him shivering with anticipation. As he walked deeper into the mist, the air grew colder, and the ground felt less stable beneath his feet. The future was unknown, and Anansi had never been one to embrace the unknown. But now, as he faced the calabash, he understood that the future was not something to fear. It was something to create. He reached out and touched the mist once again, and this time, the stories revealed themselves, stories not of deceit or fear, but of hope, redemption, and transformation. The voice of the spirit whispered once more, this time softer, more understanding. "You have passed the trials, Anansi. The stories are now yours to tell, but remember, The power of the calabash lies not in the knowledge you possess, but in how you choose to use it. With the final trial behind him, Anansi stood tall, the weight of the calabash's power in his hands. He had faced his past, present, and future. And now, the stories were his to tell. But he knew the journey was far from over. Anansi walked away from the clearing, the calabash glowing faintly in his hand, ready to share the wisdom he had unlocked. But the trials had taught him something far more valuable than knowledge alone. It was the understanding that the greatest power came not from outwitting others, but from confronting his deepest fears and choosing to live truthfully. What will Anansi do with the secrets he has unlocked? Will he use the Calabasha stories to gain more power, or will he embrace the lessons of truth and redemption that have been revealed to him? Only time will tell. Do you want to know what happens next? Stay tuned for the next chapter of Anansi and the Whispering Calabash, where Anansi's true test begins, the test of how far one is willing to go for wisdom, power, and self-discovery. Follow the story, share your thoughts, and engage with the journey ahead. What do you think Anansi will do next? Comment below, and don't forget to share this tale with those who love adventure, mystery, and the age-old wisdom of African folklore.